we've seen a kind of a tour of GeoAI capabilities in ArcGIS across different data modalities, turning raw data into meaningful information and deriving insight from it across imagery and text. And now to bring it even closer to real-world impact, I'm very excited to hand it over to Gabriel Ortiz from the Government of Cantabria in Spain. And some of you may already know about Gabriel. You might have seen his work on LinkedIn. He's been an active voice in the GeoAI community. He'll walk us through how his team has applied GeoAI in many practical and meaningful ways. So with that, let me hand it over to Gabriel.
Hello. What a great opportunity to be here with you, sharing what we have been up to in the last few years regarding GeoAI. Listen, I come from a very small region in the north of Spain. It's called Cantabria. And I am representing here a tiny, tiny group of people, 5 people, 6 people, no more. All of them devoted to public service. So what I will try to do is to provide you with a comprehensive and a realistic overview of the possibilities of GeoAI, especially for empowering small teams to do great things. And for doing this, I will be sharing with you real-world examples coming from many different directions, right? I will be talking about environmental monitoring, cartographic production, tracking human activities as well, and last but not least, generative AI. So let's jump into the content. That white dot pattern that you can see here is a very dangerous invasive species. It's called Cortaderia seyoana, or pampa grass. And the problem with this species is that it causes a huge loss of biodiversity. Displaces local vegetation, causes harm in landscape quality, and providing a highly detailed cartography of this species is not easy feat. Many teams fail in providing this using remote sensing approaches. We, for the first time in 2020, were able to produce this highly accurate delimitations of this species. And guess what? We have been able to repeat the whole process again in 2024 with less effort, less time, and gain accuracy. Having 2 different timeframes is very important because we can share insights about where the spreading process is happening more rapidly. But if we are talking about environmental monitoring, it means talking about forests, right? They are a critical and crucial component of a lot of ecosystems. As you can see, deep learning can help us track every single tree. And again, in different timeframes. On the right side, 1957. 1957 was the year when the first satellite, Sputnik, was launched. No observational capabilities in those days. But we have been able to bring to life this data, captured with traditional photogrammetry workflows, and do these kind of comparisons. We learn in the process that the forests, in the case of Cantabria, have more than doubled in the last few decades. Thank you. Another thing that we do is to combine traditional methods with the state-of-the-art algorithms. On the left side, you have the National Forest Map of Spain. It's an outstanding product. And on the right side, you have the equivalent created with AI. As you can see, much better level of detail. And what we are actually doing is to bring all the attributes, all the fieldwork from the legacy database into the new one, creating what I call a national forest map on steroids. Think about the possibilities for updating these data sources. But green cover is much more than tree cover, right? So we expanded our models to distinguish between grasslands in yellow, shrublands in red, and again, tree cover in blue. And when you don't see any color, it's because they are built-in areas. Look what an amazing level of detail. This really pushes the frontiers of GIS and cartography forward. It's wonderful when you see a machine working for you like this. It really strikes a chord with you. But let's shift gears from environmental monitoring to cartographic production. One of the most demanded things is to extract buildings from true orthophoto accurately. Here you can see our last deep learning model trained by ourselves extracting buildings in the most demanding environment, a city center. But if we go to a remote rural area in our territory, where the buildings are different, the shape of the buildings, the materials, the colors, the density, and the whole landscape is totally different, you can see the model still generalizes very well. This is what you can achieve when you take the technology to the very edge and train your own deep learning models. Let me share with you some of the metrics of the model I have been using to produce this. The general loss function, well about 99%. And believe me, this is not overfitted. We control every single step along the way, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be perfect either. And in per-class metrics, we use the model for classifying buildings as well. The numbers are staggering. Let's go deeper in this comparison. On the left side, you have the former 1.5K series created by humans using stereo plotting, the former 1.5K series of Gobierno de Cantabria. It was a large cartographic project involving dozens of people working over a year, more than $1.8 million, strict quality control, quality assurance firm. And on the right side, you have the equivalent created by one data scientist in 3 days. It hasn't been edited. And you can compare in different situations, simple situations, or very complex situations, and you can see how really we can match the human possibilities with deep learning. So the question is, are you interested in reducing the 95% of your time? I'm sure you all agree. Going back to cartographic production, if we combine this superpower for segmenting imagery with a nice symbology, with 3D information coming from LiDAR, what we are actually getting is a real map. A real map that works in city centers. A real map that works on open earth in every single situation. But let's shift gears into tracking human activities, something that was kind of a dream only some years ago. The principle is the same. You can extract buildings, right? And you can do it in different time frames. Remember I was showcasing before the evolution of forests? I am showcasing and measuring now the evolution of urban growth. Or do crazy things like trying to understand the spatial patterns behind the use of vehicles in the whole region of Cantabria. Hundreds of thousands of vehicles detected at once. Or do crazy things like trying to understand the spatial patterns behind the use of beaches in Cantabria. We have more than 100 beaches in the whole region of Cantabria. It's a notable tourist destination. In generative AI, there are that many examples in generative AI in geospatial. Let's share a couple of them. Bringing back color to life in grayscale imagery. In this case, this aerial survey was captured during the 70s. And it looks really great, assisted by AI. Or increasing the resolution and quality of your archive imagery, super resolution. This example was created even before the advent of diffusion models. So I have been preparing you during all my talk with this avalanche of projects and examples coming from very different directions to embrace the most important idea that I have to share with you. And it's the fact that the future of cartography is not about humans drawing maps anymore. It's about humans shaping faster, smarter, and better decisions, freeing up the time to focus on higher value targets. Because in the end, this is not about replacing people. It's about empowering them to solve the impossible. The impossible, you've seen it made real. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you. It was awesome. Thank you so much for coming over and inspiring us with your work. What I really like about Gabriel's work is, how all of this was accomplished by a small team of 5 to 6 people. And Gabriel had shared with me earlier that they actually use one consumer-grade GPU for most of their work. So, I'm reminded of that saying, like, where there's a will, there's a way. Okay, so we've seen a few examples